was August of 2021 when Hurricane Ida struck the state of Louisiana. A Category 4 hurricane, with wind speeds topping 150 miles per hour, Ida caused flooding, power outages, and property damage on a terrifying scale. But a hurricane is only ever a disaster, and today we are more interested in monsters. Boyd Manor was a senior home in Louisiana. Their management, a real estate company named Taliaferro, was not legally required to evacuate the residents of Boyd Manor in the face of Hurricane Ida. So they didn't. They evacuated themselves and left the 40-odd elderly residents to make it on their own. Boyd Manor endured the hurricane, minor flooding, a power outage, and a loss of internet and water from their pipes. Then the waiting began. How long would it be until someone from management returned to see how many of their guests survived? At this point, I must stress that this is a home of elderly people that need extreme care. In the dark, with no way to contact the outside world, and few capable of walking a short distance, these residents watched their medications go bad without refrigeration, watched the oxygen machines they needed to breathe lose the last of their battery, watched as the food and water that could be saved ran out. I imagine corporate would have eventually checked on Boyd Manor, if only to assess the damage to their property. But that's just a theory, as corporate never came. A volunteer cleanup crew doing a sweep of the neighborhoods were the ones to rescue the prisoners of Boyd Manor. It had been 11 days. If you, like me, were hoping to learn that abandoning the residents in your care to die in a hurricane, and refusing to check on them should have, consequences, you will have to share in my disappointment as well. Following the event in question, the governor's office announced they would be investigating Taliaferro for elder abuse. But if any conclusion was ever drawn by the investigation, I've been unable to find record of it. What I do know is that Taliaferro still manages Boyd Manor. In fiction, unlike reality, we expect there to be consequences. Good deeds should be rewarded. Bad deeds should be punished. And damn, do I want to see Yaroslav suffer. Train to Busan is a South Korean zombie outbreak movie set on a moving train. Our heroes are a dad and his daughter, a pregnant woman and her husband, teenage lovers, and a pair of elderly siblings. Overall, it's a blast to watch, but when I got out of the theater my first time seeing it, there was one nagging thought that I couldn't get out of my head. I am not satisfied with what happened to Yaroslav. If you have not seen the film, or it's been a while, Yaroslav is one of the passengers on the train. He's a high-ranking businessman with a list of on-screen barbarities that span the length of the film. So, spoiler warning we go. Yansuk's first line in the film is to tell one of the staff on the train that someone odd got on board. This someone is infected with the zombie virus, but Yansuk has no way of knowing that, and it's clear that he would be quick to label anyone not with him in the first-class cabin as odd. After the initial outbreak, the train stops to let the uninfected passengers off. Rather than wait his turn, Yansuk shoves his way to the front so he can be rescued first. Yansuk then demands that the conductor uncouple the engine car of the train and take just him away to safety. When he reveals that the city the train is stopped in has been overrun, a fact he neglected to tell all the other passengers as they left for the station, the conductor instead insists that they call everyone back, which confuses Yansuk as he struggles to remember that the first-class car wasn't just him and his ego. In the same vein, as the passengers are running back towards the train, Yansuk grabs an employee and asks, "Why aren't we leaving yet?" To which the employee directs his attention to the other passengers that aren't on board. Yansuk gets his way a minute later, though, as when Jinhee, one half of the teenage lovers, cries that her friends haven't made it onto the train yet, Yansuk yells back that those on board must survive, and the train employee has to reluctantly agree. As our heroes fight their way through a horde of zombies to make it to the safe car, they arrive to find the last door held shut from the inside. Yongguk, the other half of the teenagers, calls Jinhee to tell the safe car to let them in, but Yansuk is quick to smash Jinhee's phone with his boot, insisting our heroes must be infected. While two of our heroes fight to keep the zombies at bay, Yongguk smashes down the door to the safe room. In his one athletic moment, Yansuk sprints down the car so he can slam a second door on a kid's arm. The heroes make it into the safe car, but lose 2 of their number because of the delay of the sealed door. An understandably irate Seokwoo, the dad, punches Yansuk, who screams that the heroes are all infected. "Look at their eyes," he howls, pointing to Seokwoo's very normal eyes. The heroes are exiled to the next car up, a decision that comes back to haunt the rest of the survivors when the remaining sister decides she's had enough of this. Yeon-suk is next seen in a bathroom with another man. He lies that the coast is clear, then shoves the poor guy into the waiting zombies to clear the way for his own escape. Jin-hee and Young-guk struggle to open a door as Yeon-suk runs into view, pursued by zombies. Without a second thought, he hurls Jin-hee into the oncoming horde. Young-guk abandons the door to fight, and Yeon-suk continues on his merry way. Following a crash, the conductor gets a second train engine running, and here's Yeon-suk, who trips and dies with freedom in sight. Just kidding, the conductor leaves the train to help and is repaid with immediately being used as a shield so Yeon-suk can hobble onto the train alone. Except it turns out that Yeon-suk really did get infected when he tripped, and he's just running on borrowed time, long enough for the 3 remaining heroes to board the new station and get attacked by Yeon-suk. Yeon-suk infects Seok-woo, and then it happens. That's it. If my recap wasn't clear enough, there were 11 major characters on that train with Yeon-suk, and 8 of them died because of his actions. The roughly 14 people in the safe car died because he sacrificed one of the sisters, and if you include the number of people that died at the second station, given that Yeon-suk knew that the station wasn't safe, then the number skyrockets. Across this film, at least 64 people are dead because of this bad, bad man. But of course, I could always find worse numbers in today's news. The actions of Yeon-suk could be referring to real events in recent South Korean memory. A dissertation I read suggests the 2014 seawall ferry disaster, where, in the same way that Yeon-suk is quick to abandon the other passengers, the captain and key crew members escaped in a life raft. Of the 476 passengers left behind, 304 would die, including 250 high school students. As the paper argues, by positioning Young-guk and Jin-hee in a smaller frame within the shot, this scene symbolizes the isolation of the students who are left behind. Yeon-suk exclusively exercises the power to decide who is worth preserving and who is an acceptable loss, a power reflected all too clearly in the world around us. Does it surprise you to learn that in the United States, more than half of the 9 million people living near hazardous waste sites are people of color, and Black Americans are 3 times more likely to die from exposure to air pollutants than their white counterparts? Or does it make sense that, as one nation, we still assume some lives to be a more acceptable loss because of the color of their skin? It is to our collective detriment that the judgment of whose lives are best worth saving rarely escapes the clutches of the few, the same few who hold the leverage to avoid the consequences for the injustice of their actions. Yeon-suk dies. I get it. He was punished for his actions. But look at this. Flipped over the edge and gone. As a cleaner death than he gave those he killed. A cleaner death than he deserves. I'm taking the kitty gloves off of karma for this finish. Wouldn't it be more poetic if, after everything, Yeon-suk was trapped in a room with Jin-hee and Young-guk and everyone else he killed, that all the horrible things he did literally came back to bite him? My favorite choice is that Yeon-suk gets away. Train to Busan ends with Soo-an and Seong-kyung escaping to a battle zone in a tunnel. On the other side of the tunnel, a pair of snipers wait to shoot any zombies that come through. They're aiming down their scope when Soo-an starts to sing a song she wishes she could have performed for her dad. The soldiers decide they're human, and they're free. Now picture Yeon-suk making it to the tunnel before them. After everything he did to save himself, he made it. His feet crunch over the gravel. He blinks as the light of freedom shines before him. Then the soldiers decide there's a monster in the tunnel.